On the first one, we tried to sprint out to Jeremiah. It didn't work, and then we tried a sneak there that looked like we had. I guess they said that his knee was down. It was short, so that was that one. And then on the next one, we tried to roll out on the third and one, and it was batted down. And then felt like at that point, let's just get the 3 points and get the defense back on the field and see if we can play for another possession, get a stop and get the ball back, kick a field goal to win the game. But we didn't execute that. So, at the end of the day, we went down there 2 times and ended up with 0 points, and that's how you lose a game.
We'll go here on the left, and then we'll come up to the front.
With Joey Coffin, Columbus Dispatch, on the went forward on fourth and the kick, how much the fact that you guys have struggled in some of the sneaks last week in the rivalry game in Michigan, the sneak was short, and this sneak was short as well. How did that maybe influence the thinking there?
Well, for the most part, our sneaks have been pretty good this year. How many have we not got this year?
Just 2.
Yeah. It's been pretty good for us, and we felt like we've been pretty good at it, but we didn't execute it, in this one. So, we'll have to, figure out if that's the right thing to do moving forward, and try to put our guys in the best position to be successful.
Here in front.
Ryan, Stefan Kreisnik with Cleveland.com. You guys have stressed routine so much all year, right? Moving things around to make sure you stick to routine. I know you don't want to make excuses, but how tough was this week? Obviously, there was a million things you guys had to balance. Just did it feel like it threw off the routine? Do you feel like it impacted what happened today at all?
Well, I would just say that it was the same for both teams. So at the end of the day, that's our job to come out here and execute and win games. So we're not going to make any excuses about any of this. We wanted to win this game. The guys had a good week of practice, but at the end of the day, we came up short. So we got to get back and figure out why that happened, what the issues were, and get it fixed, because the season's not over. Got a lot of football ahead of us, and hopefully we can use this as a way to get better as we head into the playoffs.
Let's go here in the front, and then we'll go to that side.
Yeah, Austin Ward, 97.1 The Fan. Ryan, with everything that was going on with Brian this week and going to USF, did anything change at all in the way you guys game planned or called the plays tonight from the rest of the season?
I'm not going to get into too many details on it all. I think Brian is doing everything he possibly can to finish his time here the right way, and I appreciate that. And so we're all involved with it, and we're all doing everything we can to make sure that we put the guys in the right situation to be successful. We got a bunch of guys in that room, and we'll make sure as we head into the next few weeks that we're on point and we're doing our part.
We have one over here to the right.
Bowden Jerome, Lounge Sports Network. Coach Day, after missing the game-tying field goal, do you regret going for it on 4th and 2 at the end of the third quarter?
I mean, when it doesn't work, I always regret it. So that's how it works. When it works, it's good. When it doesn't, then you want to take it back. So that's how life works. At the end of the day, we got to make decisions in real time that we think give our guys the best position to be successful, and practice it enough to execute it. And when it doesn't, then certainly we got to deal with what comes with that, and that's it's my responsibility. So at the end of the day, I got to make sure that we're putting our guys in the right situation to be successful.
Let's go here in the front.
Bill Rabinowitz, Substack. Ryan, the offensive line had been playing much better tonight. It had its troubles. Can you pinpoint why it struggled so much, especially in protecting Julian?
I'm going to have to really, get on the film and figure out where most of the breakdowns were. I think there was some good play, but not good enough against a good defense. They've done a nice job all year. Continue to do a nice job. I think they were averaging 10 points going into the game and held us to 10 points. So you got to give them credit. But yeah, we'll get back to it and figure out what that was and what where we're coming up short. And usually when that happens, it's everybody. It's not just one person or one thing. But it wasn't good enough. That's for sure.
Let's go here in the front, and then we'll go to the back left.
Jack DeWick with the Lantern. Ryan, it obviously wasn't the result you wanted, but Caden was all over the field today, was making plays outside the stat sheet. What did you see out of him, and how important was he today?
Well, I thought the guys played really, really hard, and certainly Caden led the way. 3 TFLs, but he's been like that all year, and that's who he is and the player he's become. And so I thought the defense was gritty tonight, played hard, and gave us a chance to win, and he was a big part of that.
We'll go here in the back corner.
Ryan, Cameron Teague with The Athletic. Obviously, some of the red zone stuff has worked for you guys. Some of the stuff you guys ran today has worked this year. Obviously, Indiana's a really good red zone defense, but just what did you see in the red zone? And when you inside the 10 twice and you get 0 points, as a play caller, do you start to second guess or change things that maybe didn't work the previous time? And do you feel like that thing leads to overthinking it all?
Well, when you get in the red zone, you got to get positive yards, and you have to. We had a couple of drives that started right around the 10-yard line, and when that happens, I mean, you've got to get 3 and 4 yards, or else you can find yourself behind the sticks, real quick. And that didn't happen. And then the passes that we threw, on those first and second downs, weren't successful enough. We tried a couple of things that, didn't work out. So, we got to make sure that they're the right plays, and that we're executing them well enough, and that we're practicing them well enough. All the things that come with it. So, we spend an inordinate amount of time to try to figure out what is the best scheme that fits what you're going to see in the game. And then we go from there. So, we're all involved with it, and we all got to own it.
Julian, can you comment on the team's fortunes tonight in the red zone?
Yeah, we got to do better execution-wise. Starts with me up, and we'll go from here. I just got to be able to, when we get down there, just put points on the board, because as a quarterback, ultimately you're judged on, how the offense does and when we score points or not. So I got to do a little bit better down there in the red zone and make sure we end up with points, especially on that quarterback sneak. Fourth down, we got to end up with the first down there.
Let's go back corner and then here to the middle.
Yeah, Ryan, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch. Last year you had that loss at Michigan and kind of regrouped, gave you a chance to kind of re-examine. Do you try to revisit that? Anything that you learned from that moving forward?
I think every year is different. Every group's different. But, yeah, I mean, there's going to be, a lot of hard conversation here over the next couple of weeks for sure. This is not going to sit well with anybody. It's going to sting. And we can't let this game beat us twice, but we can use it as an opportunity to get better and grow from. But that's only going to happen if we get to work and do it. It isn't just magically going to happen. So, when you lose a game, it hurts, it stings. That's one of the things that we've talked about all year is, let's not wait for a loss to have great urgency. Let's not wait for a setback to motivate us more. Let's continue to fight every day to make sure that we're on top of all of that. But the truth is that, with this group, I think that this is going to make us more hungry because, this is a competitive group. So to walk off that field without a championship is going to hurt. And that's what we wanted to do. So there's a lot of guys in that locker room that are pissed off right now.
Let's do this right here, and then we'll take any questions for Julian Sand.
Yeah, I was going to ask Tim May, FanStream Sports. Julian, on that third down play there before the missed field goal, what were sort of your options? Because obviously you were looking to the end zone all the way there, and just kind of take us through what your thoughts were on that particular play.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I had a rollout with the running back in the flat, and I thought the defender was too close. He was covered, so I moved on to my next read, and tried to fit it in there, and they ended up batting it away. So we got converted on that in 3rd and 1, and be able to keep the offense on the field.
Yeah, I don't think Julian could have done anything different on that play or a couple of those plays down there. I know maybe it wasn't perfect, but I thought Julian played well tonight. I thought he played hard, and it was gritty, and had some tough situations where he didn't make bad situations worse. Quite honestly.
Ryan, for you, 3rd downs were huge tonight for them. I mean, Mendoza hit a couple of huge passes there. Can you kind of give it up to the opposition a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're seeing, but they certainly made. There were 6 of 13, and we were 4 of 12, and some of those were big plays in the game. So, so we can't let that happen, obviously, but they executed it, and that was part of the game, part of the story of the game.
Ryan, Doug Lesmerises, the Bill and Doug Show. How much did you consider on the 4th and 1 before the field goal, going for it, and how might that affect your decision making the rest of this season if you get in another spot like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you miss the field goal, you're sick over it, and you just second guess yourself right from the jump. But I felt like and that was a situation. I forget exactly how long the field goal was, but sort of a chip shot. Get the thing tied up and let's go. We were struggling down there in the red area, and let's get the thing tied up and see if we can get the ball back and go kick a field goal to win the game. When it doesn't work, you always got to look at it and second guess it for sure.
Questions for Julian? And then we'll continue the coach day right here for Julian.
Yeah, Julian, last year you guys ended the season with the 13-10 loss, came back, and were dominant the rest of the way. What's going to be the key bouncing back with the playoff in front of you and the opportunity to still win a national title?
Yeah, I think last year, me being a freshman, I just saw that group stick together, and the leadership in that group, and they were together, and that's gonna be a big part for us, is just sticking together and having each other's backs.
Anything else for Julian? Right here in the middle.
Julian, this was the second straight game you had to bounce back from an early interception. Just what is it like for a quarterback to deal with something like that, and how did you think you handled it today?
Yeah, first off, can't turn the ball over, early in the game like that and put our defense in a bad spot. Ended up giving up points for that, and so, those points are on me. But, just battling adversity and, not letting it overtake your mind and just being able to move on to the next play.
We're going to let Julian go, unless you have. What? Yep. Okay.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch. For Julian, there was a time in the first half, I think it was where your shoe came off on the sideline there. Did that, and then got some taped up, did that affect you at all later on, or what happened there?
No, just the shoe came off, so I got it taped up so it stayed on, and made sure.
Thank you, Julian. Appreciate it. A couple more for Coach. Go right here in the middle. Sorry, back corner and then the middle.
Hey, Ryan, I just wanted to ask about the right guard spot real quick. Gabe Van Sickle was in there late in the game. Was that just a matter of him being your best option at right guard? Was there anything wrong with Tegra? And I guess moving forward, what do you see at that right guard spot?
Well, we wanted to split the work up a little bit in this game and take some pressure off of both of those guys. So we felt like that was the right thing to do in this game, and we'll decide if that's the right thing to do moving forward.
Go right here.
Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Huddle. Ryan, I'm sure you thought that holding Indiana to 13 points would have been enough for your offense. I guess your thoughts on the offense overall, and I don't know, disappointment, frustration. Where are you right now?
Well, just finishing off the drives obviously was huge, and really the story of the game. There were times we moved the ball well, we had some decent drives, but when you get into the red zone and you don't finish like that, then it's just how you lose games. So I mean that to me is really the story of the game. And then on third downs, 4 of 12, just not good enough. Didn't really establish the run. They were playing a decent amount of coverage, so when they're playing that much coverage, you should be able to run the football consistently. And when you're not, and you're not converting on third down, and you're not scoring in the red zone, that's the story of the game. And so. It's a tough lesson to learn, but it's got to get fixed fast.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay.
The Ohio State interview room is open until 12:11. Indiana will be joining us shortly.
drought continues. An undefeated season ends in heartbreaking fashion. Ohio State falls to Indiana 13-10 in the Big Ten championship. That's now 6 straight years with no Big Ten title. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Football Fever post-game show. Ben Buchanan here in studio with former Buckeyes Obi Stillwell and Jay Richardson. Before we give you our takes on this tough loss, let's hear from Dave Holmes and Kellyanne Stitz at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Hey, thanks a lot. Some upset Buckeyes taking off the field right now behind us here at Lucas Oil Stadium. The Buckeyes fall short of capturing that Big Ten championship, 13-10. The final, you can see Jermaine Matthews Jr. being consoled there by James Laurinaitis. Kellyanne, not the game they were hoping for tonight.
No, as you can see on these players' faces right now, this is not the outcome that they wanted or intended to Indiana's defense. This was a battle between two really good defenses. Indiana, the Hoosiers, they held Ohio State to just 10 points, the lowest scoring output they've had all season long. Indiana's pass rush was making Julian Sain very uncomfortable all night long. He was sacked 5 times in this game.
Tell you what, you're seeing the highs and lows here just 7 days apart. Last week, these guys are celebrating with the fans in the stands in Ann Arbor today. Some hanging heads here as they walk into the locker room. 13-10, the final score. Kellyanne, the guy who looked the saddest, we saw him walk off moments ago, was kicker Jaden Fielding. Just looked dejected after shanking that 27-yarder.
Yeah, he missed a short field goal, 27-yarder, and he'd only missed 2 field goals all season long heading into this game. Of course, that one really cost the Buckeyes there at the end to try to tie it.
Yeah, tough night tonight for the Buckeyes. I mean, hey, it was 1 versus 2 guys for a reason. We said this was going to be a battle. I think if we learn one thing, it's that Indiana is absolutely for real. The Buckeyes are for real as well. They're going to have a chance to regroup. We saw last year that 1 loss does not end your season. 2 losses didn't end their season last year, so they're going to still probably get a bye in the playoffs once that field is announced Sunday afternoon.
In fact, the loss can really inspire this team. If that's one thing that we learned about these guys, they're really good at regrouping. Now, this is a different team, right? Different leadership, but I'm sure they're going to come in fired up and inspired heading into the college football playoff.
Yeah, well, goal 1 was to beat that team up north. That was a check. Goal 2, they came up short tonight in the Big Ten title game. The biggest goal, though, guys, still ahead, and the Buckeyes still very much alive in that national championship race.
All right, guys, just want to hear your initial thoughts following this tough loss. Obi, let's start with you. Not what we were hoping for.
Yeah, not what we were hoping for. First, I want to give a shout out to Charlie Becker, wide receiver, had 126 yards receiving. His father actually was the Buckeye, 1995, received a letter for Ohio State football. And then Isaiah Jones, who actually had 2 sacks for Indiana. His father played tight end for us, DJ Jones, in the 90s. Played with actually.
See what happens when you don't win? Now IU players are getting shot out.
Right, you got to do that sometimes because it all comes from the Buckeye Nation. Sometimes you start to realize, but yeah, Jay, that was rough. That was rough, man. I don't think Ohio State played Ben really with that level of confidence that I was really hoping they would. But I also believe that IU, man, they had a great game plan. I mean, that offense again was no joke, extremely efficient. The defense was hard-nosed, smart. I made a comment about IU. If they're not the Ivy League, if Northwestern is not the Ivy League, certainly IU is of the Big Ten. Very smart players, very disciplined defensive players, sure tacklers. I mean, they played a complete game, and that was one of the things I kept saying many times. I said, I'm not sure how Ohio State will respond when they play a talented team that has a good game or even a great game. Well, this is what happens. Ohio State actually, I feel for the guys. I feel for the loss. But they played a superior team, at least for today.
They were better today. Jay Rich, your thoughts on a tough loss at Lucas Oil?
I got 2 minds about this game. So I'm going to start with first, you got to congratulate IU. You got to congratulate Signetti. You got to congratulate the future Heisman winner, Fernando Mendoza. Those boys played fantastic. Beautiful game plan by the IU defense. I mean, to hold a team like Ohio State to 4 for 12 on 3rd down is unbelievable defense. There were times where Julian Sain did not know what he was looking at. And there were times where I looked at Brian Hartline's play calling, whoever had the clipboard, and I'm going, a critical 3rd and 1, and you run sprint out to the field looking for JJ, who's doubled for a no gain, and then on 4th and 1, You run your quarterback on a QB sneak, your quarterback who's barely 200 pounds soaking wet, if that. Not very physical quarterback, not very aggressive. Also has a wrap on his ankle, not 100%. He falls down immediately. There is no fourth down, and the ball gets turned over on downs. That was inside the red zone on a critical play. And when that happened, I said, yeah, it's not going to happen tonight. And I didn't say that just because, I got a crystal ball. It's just you could see the energy. Ohio State did not play, as Obi said, with confidence. And they lost a little bit of that mystique of being the number one team, of being the big dog. I've been saying it all season. There is no dominant team in college football right now, and that bodes well for the Ohio State Buckeyes because they could emerge as that team. Well, you had to do it tonight against a team that finally matched up with you both offensively and defensively. And I think that's something that we've said Ohio State has not had to face yet. Not saying they played all cupcakes, but you played a lot of tomato cans you beat up on, and then you finally ran up against a team that could look you in the face and play you for 4 quarters. And I think there was a time where this coaching staff blinked just a little bit with some of the play calling, and then you had 2 really, really ugly field goals. One went in, one didn't go in for fielding. We'll discuss that later, Ben. I want to pick your brain on that because I just thought even his first field goal kind of looked a little bit like it curved on it. So there were just some times where I thought the Buckeyes didn't utilize what they have best.
I think he pulled his foot a little bit off the pedal at halftime. Right before halftime.
I didn't even get into the halftime.
I think we had an opportunity. Ohio State had an opportunity to go down and at least get a field goal. But I think they were a little more confident than they should have been. And sometimes I can say it was confidence, but maybe it was him being conservative. I'm not sure. But I was surprised that he was okay, that Ryan Day was okay with going in at halftime. I believe it was like a minute and 30-some.
Obi, there was a minute and 55 seconds. You got all 3 of your timeouts, and you're hesitant about whether or not you want to truly all out go for it and use your timeouts, or if you're scared that you're not going to get it, and that you give Cignetti and his offense a chance to get another possession in that last 55 seconds. And that was the first time I've seen Ryan not immensely confident in his offense. And I don't know if it was because of Julian's interception early on, or it was because of all the sacks, and you just don't feel like you're sure your guys are going to go get it, so you want to lean on your defense. I get that, but don't forget who you are and what got you here.
It shocked
being
me.
confident.
I was shocked.
That was surprising.
At the end of the day, it was shocking all the way around. Give credit where credit's due. Kurt Cignetti, the Indiana Hoosiers, man, they are what a rise, guys. You talk about 2 years where he's brought the Indiana Hoosiers, now the Big Ten champions. I think it surprised all of us, but good to go back to the drawing board. Still a lot to play for. We're going to get into it. It's a long show, so stay with us. Much more to come here on the Football Fever. All right, in the Apex Pros, Plumbing, Heating, and Air, the Pros Who Know segment, we turn to our resident pros, Jay Richardson and Obi Stillwell tonight. It was a defensive masterclass from both teams. Julian Sayin was certainly feeling the pressure. Just like against Michigan, he threw an interception early on in one of his first throws. Jay, break down this interception for us. This was surprising early on.
Yeah, very surprising. It almost seemed like Julian did not know what to believe pre-snap. He saw the cover 2 shell, and then he sees the safety just come flying down, almost like a robber kind of look there, and sure enough, he just robbed the football from Julian. I think Julian thought, you know what, I'm going to hit Ennis in the middle here because I know they're backing up in that shell to cover basically the 2 guys on the edges almost so you can double both of them, but they didn't. The middle safety came down right into the hole and snatched it, and I just think Julian lost his eye control for a split second, but that's one of those plays, Ben, where you look at and you go, man, what a great job by IU's defense. You have to give them a lot of credit. It wasn't like the Michigan interception where Julian just misread something and just let it go.
Yep.
This was a little bit later in the play, and it's like you kind of should be able to see that by now.
Sure.
So that ball should not have been thrown. That was concerning. Fantastic defense by IU all day long.
Amazing.
You know, 2 teams that are averaging over 30 points a game were both held to under 15 points, or 13 or under, which says a lot about both defenses, but it says a lot that Matt Patricia and his defense were able to hold Signetti's team, who's been blowing teams out, 40, 50 points, only 13 points. So you can't put too much on Ohio State's defense as, oh, man, they could have played better. Yes,
Sure.
they weren't perfect, but 13 points to a team that averages almost 40 points. Yeah, they played good defense.
No doubt. Have to score more points than that, obviously. Sayin was also feeling the pressure both figuratively and literally. The Hoosiers were getting to him constantly. Obi Sayin was sacked as many times today as he'd been all season long and was often forced to throw the ball away and scramble. He was running all over the place tonight, man.
Yeah, you know what? It was interesting to see because this is the first time I've ever really seen that he looked indecisive. It looked like he wasn't sure exactly what defense IU was running, and he was holding on to the ball a little longer than he usually does because he just didn't recognize, well, are they in zone or are they in man-to-man? And we actually are able to see, unfortunately, he is not as agile as you thought, or as I thought even in the beginning of the season. I thought that he would be able to have a little more juice about him to be able to get out of some of these plays. But I mean, the offensive linemen at the end of the day, even the running backs, it's not just the offensive linemen. The running backs, unfortunately, were not able to hold off this IU defense. Julian, he was trying to get rid of the ball. He was trying to move around, and I also think, and on that particular play, and I forget which play it was, but he did hurt his ankle and he got his ankle taped up. I know there wasn't a lot of emphasis put on that, but I do believe that impacted him. He's not a real big mobile quarterback anyhow.
Yeah,
that made him even less mobile. But again, give it to IU. They offense wins games, defense wins championships.
Absolutely.
And they won the championship off of their defense.
Off of that defense, no doubt. Now, the Buckeyes were solid defensively as well. Jay, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson Jr. were a constant threat to Fernando Mendoza tonight. They had a good game.
Yeah, Caden Curry at points in this game completely took the game over. From the very first snap of the game, getting a smooth, solid, legal hit on Mendoza and knocking the wind out of this kid to the point where he was down and had to miss a play, had his little brother come in and take a snap, which was kind of interesting to see. But what you saw was just the relentless aggressiveness. We all know he's an Indiana kid, and this was a homecoming for him. He wanted to make his presence felt, and he absolutely did that. Had a heck of a game. 9-2, was all over the place in the run game and the pass game. And then Kenyatta, number 97, folks, this kid got held, had to be 60% of the snaps he played out there, and none of them were called. And it was getting to the point where it was comical. Even Joel Klatt observed on the broadcast, hey, they just yanked 97 down to the ground during a pass rush, and how is a holding call not being thrown out there? And it just was kind of bizarre to watch. But you got to give a lot of credit to the Ohio State defense. I know people are going to say, yeah, IU had 340 total yards, 222 passing, 118 rushing. Yeah, they also were able to possess the ball and have a lot of plays because Ohio State's offense was not getting, sustaining long drives, and they were, 3 and outs and then just not being able to convert on third downs, that puts a lot of pressure on your defense. And then the turnover in the red zone, and for that defense to hold them to a field goal, that is impressive stuff. So when you look at this game, you're going to have some things to take away from it defensively and go, okay, I know how we can get better. It seemed like Jermaine Matthews got picked on a little bit, and it seemed like Lorenzo Styles Jr. got picked on just a little bit. There's some things they're going to have to clean up. We're not used to seeing teams hit 2 big bombs on us, especially on a critical third down at the end of the game, Ben, where you have to get a stop, and then you give up a huge bomb to that kid, Charlie Becker, who we are so sick of hearing his name. I mean, what is it, Charlie B from Tennessee? God, so sick of hearing that. But the kid had 6 catches for 126 yards. That's why you're hearing his name. So you got to get little things like that cleaned up.
Yep, against this Ohio State Buckeye defense coached by Matt Patricia. That's a heck of a game. No way around it. Now, the Buckeyes were also able to snuff out Indiana's stout run game. Obi, the Hoosiers like to use the run to open up the pass, but they really weren't able to do that tonight when you look at the film.
No, they weren't. And I mean, but, unfortunately, they were efficient enough, right? You had Hemby, who's number 1, if you remember him. Very patient runner, explosive, great vision. And then Black, number 8. He was a downhill runner, breaks a lot of tackles. Now, again, they did not have the explosive run game that they are typically used to, but they were able to mix it up just enough to make the Buckeyes react to that run and allow those receivers to get behind our safeties. Unfortunately, that was the game plan that Indiana came in with, and their game plan stuck. Ohio State did look many times confused and not really understanding what IU was doing, but they had a lot of crossing routes. They went down the middle. They went on the sidelines. Our defensive backs at times just seemed. Again, the score was low. I mean, it was a heavyweight fight, but at the same time, when the play needed to happen, our defensive backs gave up some really big plays, and unfortunately, that led to the victory.
And call it what it was. That's uncharacteristic, right? We hadn't seen that all year. It just was a step slower, and you can't do that in a Big Ten championship game, obviously. All right, stay with us. Much more football fever to come after the break. All right, the Atlas Butler offensive checkup. We need to highlight a Buckeye offense that looked a little disconnected at times tonight. Obi, your thoughts on the up and down performance offensively this evening?
Yeah, I think it was, the IU's defense. I mean, they really came in, and Ohio State seemed to be. I'm sorry, we're talking about the offense. I apologize. Ohio State's offense, but Indiana's defense, I think, just extremely disrupted everything that Ohio State was trying to do. It did that. It never looked like we actually got in sync. Looked like for a second with Jeremiah Smith, some things started to happen then. But then I think after a while, it just was IU began to just anticipate what we were going to do.
That was classic. If you bring your B game to an A-type performance, it's not going to be enough, and that's what we saw tonight. Jay, a real turning point in this game was when the Buckeyes chose to go for it on 4th and 1 by utilizing the tush push that obviously didn't work. I think a lot of Buckeye Nation was wondering, why not put in Lincoln Kienholz in that or hand it off to C.J. Donaldson?
I said it earlier.
Yeah.
Nothing makes less sense than trying to run Julian Sayin, a non-mobile quarterback with a little bit of a hobbled ankle there, and he just collapsed the moment the ball hit his hands. It was like there was no leg drive. Look, I mean, he didn't even move his legs. He just started to lean forward. That's never going to get it done. But it was a bad play call, and this is not Julian's fault at all. This is on the play caller, because there shouldn't have come down to a 4th and 1. You had a 3rd and 1 right before that. You had a run before that. You're moving the ball well, and then on 3rd and 1, you just decide, let's run a sprint out to the wide side of the field to try to a double Jeremiah. There's nothing there, and now you're forced on 4th down to have to make a big call, and you choose a quarterback sneak with a guy, again, not very mobile, not very big, physical, aggressive, imposing. Why wouldn't you go to a Kienholz if this is what you're sold on doing? But it should have never came down to this, Ben. It should have been a running play on 3rd and 1, knowing that you're in 2 down or 4 down territory.
Yeah, we've seen the packages used with either Donaldson or Kienholz. Is it a bigger, stronger, more mobile quarterback? Would have maybe liked to see that right there. Obi, you said before the game that Ohio State's DBs would be tested, and they were badly exposed a few times tonight. You torched is the word, perhaps.
Yeah, they were. I think that Ohio State was committed to the run, stopping the run, and I had mentioned before that 2 of the unsung heroes would be Jackson Jr. on the outside and Curry, and they did have excellent games. But when you begin to stop the run, that you have to commit more players to the box, and that's when Ohio State, Indiana began to attack Ohio State over the top. They started to open up the playbook a little bit more and were able to really test these Ohio State defensive backs. And as they say, everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth, and they definitely got hit in the mouth today.
The Buckeyes absolutely did. Guys, we talk play calling all we want here, but Ryan Day breeds toughness and culture and all these things. Certainly, there's other ingredients that go into it. Jay Rich, what else can we pull from this, and what are we looking at moving forward into the playoffs here?
Yes.
Are you confident we can rebound from this?
Oh, Ohio State's going to rebound from this, but I think there's going to be some really tough discussions that are going to be had in that locker room. But more importantly, in that coaching room, it's going to have to be discussed. What style of football are we committed to? What do we really want to do as a football team offensively? Very specifically, how do we want to attack teams, and who are our best units to be out there? I love the commitment from the offensive staff to wanting to get the tight ends the ball and wanting to be physical. But there are times where there are 2 tight end sets out there, and sometimes one time there was 3, and you're looking and you're going, how are you taking Carnell Tate or Jeremiah Smith off the field? These are the 2 best players on the football team. They have to be on the field every single play. There should never be a time that the 2 best weapons you have in your arsenal are not present in the huddle to give the defense something else to worry about. This will give your offense a space to be able to run the football or to hit the seams with the tight ends. And I just thought there was a lack of confidence and total commitment to whatever the offensive game plan was going to be, because it seemed very out of whack.
Yeah, Obi, your thoughts as well?
Yeah, you know what? I can't help, and I know, Jay, we talked a little bit about this, but it did seem like that was a distracted Buckeye team. This is the first time I've ever, in a long time, and I think we talked about it, Jay, was the Michigan game where he kind of felt like he took his foot off the pedal, his knee off their throat, however you want to say it. But again, what I saw before halftime, that is what made me nervous. That is what scared me. I said, hold on, what's really going on here? And I'm wondering, some people may talk about, hey, what about Hartline leaving? Look at, that was some distraction there. I mean, there's a lot to try. Ryan Day's really trying to keep everybody locked and loaded and focused, and I think he's done it all season. This was the really first time that actually you looked and saw that, okay, they look unfocused, they look a little distracted, and it's hard when things are happening within the program, within the locker room. Like, distractions on the outside are much easier, but when you're talking about your offensive coordinator, you're talking about your wide receiver coach, who also happens to be one of your top recruiters, that is happening from the inside out. That's hard to kind of bring in. So they look like a Buckeye team and I agree with Jay. I think this team can definitely come back. They can definitely make a run in the playoffs and definitely can win the national championship. I just kind of wonder, it's like, okay, how does Ryan Day bring that back together? How does he have that conversation? Is it better to kind of let Brian Hartline move on, or do you keep him on staff? There's something there that I think they have to figure out, because there was definitely, it just didn't seem like the same focused, locked-in team that they've been all
You took
season.
the words right out of my mouth, Obi. I think a lot of Buckeye Nation's kind of wondering the same thing. Brian Hartline, one of the best recruiters, one of the best developers we've certainly seen in a long time, but him moving on to USF, you have to wonder, was it a distraction moving into this game? Jay Rich, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. We talked in pregame. Do you think that played a role in this game? They looked a little distracted out there.
I'm going to be honest, fellas. When I looked at that film and I'm just watching the game, I think the biggest thing was they played real competition. We all have to keep this in perspective. These were the best two teams in college football playing against each other. Now, rewind back to some of the times of old where it was a Alabama and a Georgia playing in an SEC championship, and they were 1 and number 2. Those were low-scoring games, or Bama LSU in the Saban days where they were 1 and 2. Those were low score. You'd see, 17-10, you'd see 10-13 games, and everyone, all the talk around it was, well, those are the two best defenses, those are the two best teams, that's how it's going to look. Now you're seeing those kind of games in the Big Ten. Those are the best two teams, 1 versus 2. It's a 13-10 game. We understand the competition that's being played out there. We understand the chess match that's happening. And we understand that both of these teams know there's a chance they could see each other again, a very good chance down the road. So maybe there was an element of conservativeness on both coaches' behalf. You saw that right before halftime. Both coaches getting very conservative, trying to play it smart, don't want to show too many cards. I got to see these guys again in a month and a half possibly. We really have to decide how we want to play this game out. I get all of that, but I still believe Ohio State could have, I won't say easily, but could have won this game convincingly had they made about 3 or 4 different decisions during this game offensively.
Jay, I think here's the thing when it comes to, you talk about the SEC and different things, when you speak about number 1 and number 2. My concern was that the personality of Ohio State seemed to change. Indiana seemed like they kept their personality of who they were and how they moved. Ohio State's personality seemed to change in that particular game. So I get what you're saying on one hand, but on the other hand, when I see that little shift and that little confidence, that little twinkle in their eye that I thought that they had coming in, and that kind of dims a little bit. That was, I was like, hold on, their countenance is changing.
Well, we hear the word countenance. That's a good word, my man.
Okay, Obi. Yeah. Professor Ben likes that.
I like it.
Stop that.
Guys, we hear.
He must have graduated.
We hear the word culture, right? Ryan Day preaches it. It is strong at Ohio State. We're going to have to see it lived out in the weeks to come and how strong it is. All right, much more football fever to come. We're back soon.
Moments in this game was a chance for the Buckeyes to tie it up. After milking a ton of clock, the Buckeyes trotted out Jaden Fielding, who had nothing but consistency all year long, but it seemed like the lights were a little bit too bright for my guy. Ben, you got to explain to me what happened on that missed field goal, because that was for game, my man.
Yeah, this is tough, guys. This is truly a specialist nightmare. I don't know what else to say. You just feel for Jaden Fielding. A 26, 27-yard field goal. He makes this in his sleep, guys. I mean, he's doing that since high school. I mean, probably hundreds and hundreds of kicks at the Woody Hayes Athletic Facility. That's just pressure. I don't know what else to say there. You saw it earlier in the game where he made a field goal that he was starting a little left. It went right. That's when you're kind of cutting the football. You're almost hitting it a little too square in the center where you want to hit probably about a third of the way down. That's what gives it that nice end over end kind of smooth kick right there. So you saw with that second one, the plant foot, that last foot that hits before you go to kick the ball, it's just a little too close to the ball. That's where the toe wraps around. You get a little bit of the hook there, that duck hook, and almost a borderline squib. So that really is just pressure, guys. Nothing to say. It's just nerves. We're going to need Jaden Fielding down the stretch. This is something that if you let it can crush you. I hope the guys rally around him. Ryan Day, I mean, you can just see it in his face, just sick watching that thing go wide left there, guys. And, we talked about, yes, you're going to remember that. You have to do your job, have to make that kick.
Yes.
There's no excuse for that. But that's not what lost the game, right? There's, literally tens of, hundreds of plays in a football game, but that's the one you're constantly going to look to. It's a 3-point loss, and so you just feel for him right there. Jaden, we believe in you and know you're going to certainly, come back from this, as we know. But Jay and Obi, it begs the question, right, from this, why not just run it on 3rd and 1, just the play before? Jay, let's start with you. I mean, the play calling, again, that we're talking about. Put yourself in this situation.
Obi, you go, because I'm still mad about that.
Listen, before we get into, did you see how Ryan Day mouthed he missed it?
He missed it. He's shocked.
He couldn't believe it
Absolutely
himself.
Shocked,
he
man.
could not believe that he missed it. But yes, you're right. Why not go for that, right?
Yeah.
Why not run that, right? Again, it goes back to the personality. I just believe Ohio State had that Indiana literally got them out of their own personality. And that's what when you're looking at beating and slaying the giant, if you will, right? You got to get the giant out of position. You got to get the giant in unfamiliar territory, right? And I think Ohio State left who they were for whatever reason they did that, and Indiana began to attack them in areas that Ohio State just did not have the ability to respond to.
Fellas, do you know what this game reminded me of?
What's that?
Please.
The Michigan game last season.
Yeah.
All season long, Ohio State's like the greatest show on turf. I mean, they are spreading you out. They're carving you up. They're going to these great running backs in Judkins and Henderson, and they're finding them in these great screen scenarios, and Chip Kelly scheming up all these amazing scheme runs. And then they get into the Michigan game, and it's like they shrink the playbook. They freeze up. They're not sure who they want to be. They want to be tough, but they don't feel like they're tough enough. And now they can't throw the ball like they want to. And all of a sudden things go haywire, and it's like, what are you doing? You know what you do.
Yeah.
Do what you do. And it felt that way today. All of a sudden, everything got conservative, everything got tense, and nobody was themselves. And when that happens, you go back and you look at the film, and as a player, you're watching the film and you're going, what on earth are we doing? Why did we do that? And as a coach, you're going, that's not us.
Well,
and they're going to have that moment. And this is, to me, this is the best thing. I know it sounds crazy. One of the best things that could happen for Ohio State heading into the playoffs is to have a game where you play super legit competition finally.
Right.
Now you know what the playoffs are going to feel like. You know what those moments are going to feel like. Get ready for it now, and don't forget who you are, and go on that same run that you did last season. It's going to be very, very important for the Buckeyes to digest this film and grow from it and learn what it is they need to do in the future of this playoffs.
Let me ask you this, though. At what point did you guys, when watching that game, you thought, we're about to lose? Like, at what point did that hit you? At what quarter was it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess coming out of halftime, it's like normally we'd see Matt Patricia. He was able to dial it up, right? Whatever you said it well, Jay. I mean, earlier in the season, whatever you're given in the first half, Matt Patricia and that defense, they're going to be able to take it away. But give credit to Fernando Mendoza. I think if there's any question, he's probably the Heisman Trophy winner after an unbelievable performance tonight. Kind of carved up the Buckeyes secondary in that second half, and no moment was too big for him, and just played outstanding. Jay, your thoughts with that as well?
You know, even before the missed field goal, I looked down and I was like, man, Ohio State's only got like 50-something rushing yards right now in the third quarter. I said, this is not an Ohio State football team right now. This is not how they usually look. And I started to feel it coming down the stretch, even before the kick on that 3rd and 1, and just not running the football. I was like, this doesn't feel right. I think they're going to lose this football game. Then, of course, the kick misses. You still feel like you have a chance. Mendoza and those guys come out. They get together a couple first downs. Then there's a critical 3rd down, and they throw a bomb to that kid from Nashville, Tennessee. What do they call him? Charlie B from Tennessee. That little, you know what? They throw a bomb to
We
this
don't want
kid.
to hear that name anymore.
He's one-on-one with Jermaine Matthews, and he makes a fantastic contested catch. And I was like, that's ball game, man. Like, that is ball game. And kudos to Signetti and Fernando for just going for it, for saying, you know what, we're not going to change who we are. I don't care who we're playing. Peel the decals off the helmet. It don't matter. We're chucking this thing, and I'm going to live and die with my guy one-on-one versus their guy. And they made it happen, and you have to give them credit for that. But this will be a huge reminder for Ryan Day and this staff that, you know what, I need to get back to doing what we do. I think Ryan's going to take that clipboard and be like, I'm making these play calls for the playoffs, and we got to get going and be who we are.
Will we see them again?
Oh, man,
Indiana?
I'm selfishly hoping we play them again in the playoffs and we get a little well-earned revenge. I think a lot of Buckeye Nation would like that as well. All right, much more to come. Stay with us here on The Football Fever. Now, today was also a day of major shakeups for college football in the playoffs. Some big losses mean some surprise packages may make the postseason. Your guys' thoughts first on Alabama's loss to Georgia and then Texas Tech's demolition of BYU. Jay, your thoughts with this?
Well, I'm going to actually go in reverse real quick. So just quickly, BYU 7, Texas Tech 34. Tech, number 4 team in the country, played their butts off, had a billionaire finance their entire football team. And, man, they built a heck of a team, and they are looking really, really good good in the Big 12 there, played some really good ball, started off competitive, and then BYU just fell off of the wagon at some point and realized they cannot run with Texas Tech, and they have a really beautiful air raid assault Tech does, and they launched that thing and threw it all over the yard. I got to give a lot of credit to Texas Tech and their entire program for coming out playing really, really well. They also had a linebacker on the McAfee show hit the crossbar for $250K. So they got some stars on that program. They looked really good. But this Alabama game, guys, this Alabama-Georgia game, this was interesting because of what it means for where college football is headed. And Obi, follow me here. Georgia, number 3 team in the country, beats Alabama 28-7. Bama, number 9 team in the country. These two teams played earlier in the season, and Bama won. But in the SEC championship, Georgia demolishes them. Bama did not even look competitive in this football game. Okay, they ran the ball to the tune of, fellas, hold your breath, -3 yards rushing for Alabama in the SEC title game against Georgia. That is getting manhandled. That is getting ragdolled. That is having a will imposed upon you.
Yes.
I know Obi likes that one. So listen, I really have to look at this and what this means for Alabama. They are officially a 3-loss SEC team. They will fall from the number 9 spot. There is a whole hoopla and debate right now about should Alabama still get in over teams like Notre Dame and Miami. Fellas, I'm going to tell you right now, Alabama for the second year in a row will not make the college football playoffs top 12. They will be out. No one wants a 3-loss team that also looked horrible in their conference game. And I'll let Obi discuss a little bit, but I'll get into a little bit later on about what that means for where the Southeastern Conference is starting to go and where they're going to be viewed at in the future.
Certainly not the Alabama that we've been used to seeing for quite a long time. Not your Nick Saban Alabama.
Yeah, I don't even believe Alabama scored until the 4th quarter.
Yeah,
actually,
it was not even close. I mean, it was not a close ball.
And I think that's the bigger issue, right? And so if Alabama actually gets into the playoffs, I think it would look bad for the playoff and the committee itself, right? To allow a team like Alabama to get in. You're used to the SEC being that top notch, right? It has definitely shifted. I believe it's triggered by the NIL. I believe that NIL has triggered this flip, if you will, to Big Ten play being the dominant conference versus the SEC, which tells me possibly Big Ten has been doing it the right way and the SEC wasn't. And then when the playing field was even, all of a sudden Nick Saban quits. He says, I'm going to go ahead and retire now. This NIL thing came out. I said, okay, that came out of nowhere. But I do believe that at the end of the day, the Big Ten is starting to show itself. They talked about Ohio State real bad when Ohio State used the NIL money to bring back some of the seniors. Now you look at Texas Tech, you see what they're doing. It just is what it is. So you just need to sit back and enjoy the game.
No. Call it what it is. People need to realize Alabama's check engine light came on like a month ago, and nobody checked the engine. They lost to Oklahoma. At the time, Alabama was the number 4 team in the country. Oklahoma was number 11. Bama loses to Oklahoma, and it was a close game, but you still lost that game. Then they struggled with Auburn. Auburn is not a good football team, folks. Auburn is a mediocre at best football team in the country. And they hung with Alabama for 4 quarters. Alabama had to do some dramatic heroics to win that game. That told me this is not a top-tier football team. So then you see Georgia again, and Georgia is hitting on all cylinders. Gunnar Stockton is looking, I don't even know, like Charlie Ward out there. And all of a sudden, you get a big blowout loss. If you're Bama, you're going, I know we're out. They should know they're cooked. DeBoer is going to be on the hot seat. How can he not?
Sure.
You have a premier blue blood program that has not been in the playoffs for 2 years in a row. And I know this is not official yet, but trust me, it's going to be official soon because it provides the committee the perfect situation now. Now they can get Notre Dame and Miami. And by the way, I think Miami is still pretty deserving. And they can put the teams they really want to see in there. Now you get viewership from down south. You get all the Notre Dame loyalists. They're all giving the thumbs up. They're happy. And Bama's out of there. You still get Georgia, the SEC. You still get Ole Miss from the SEC. You're going to have representation. But I think it adds some balance to these playoffs, and it makes things truly interesting and competitive.
So you think it's kind of settled there? That was my next question. I think a lot of football fans are wondering. It's been this classic controversy controversy. You talk about big brands, Notre Dame or Miami, right?
Yeah.
You've heard all the talking heads kind of give their scenarios. What precedent would it set here? Jay Rich gave his opinion. Obi, what do you think? I mean, are you pro Notre Dame, Miami, or it sounds like it might work itself out now with
yeah, I think it's going to work itself out, but I definitely, Notre Dame is just one of those schools that just seems to squeeze in there at various times, and Miami. I think it will do well for the entire playoff system to allow some of these teams in. It just feels like it feels a little bit like March Madness, this play, and I think that energy is kind of maybe what the committee is kind of hoping for. But I think they're deserving. I think we have to be very, very careful as the committee. You have to be very, very careful if you're even leaning towards Alabama, because I believe that will impact the integrity of this playoff system.
I think three losses, and as you mentioned, Jay Rich, kind of the ugly losses that we've seen.
Yeah,
I mean, quality win, quality loss. The eye test is still a thing in college football. Good analysis as always, guys. All right, much more to come. Stay with us here on the Football Fever. All right, time now to hear from Ryan Day and Julian Sayin following the loss.
Yeah, very disappointed. Just overall with how we played. Didn't play very well in the situations. Third downs were not very good. Not very good in the red zone, obviously, at the end. So, very disappointed. I thought Indiana played really well, did a great job, but just obviously, we're all disappointed in the locker room that we didn't finish out this regular season the way we wanted to.
Please raise your hand. We will bring a microphone to you for questions. Go here in the front.
I've got a mic.
Okay, right here. State your name and affiliation.
Yeah, Steve Hellwagon with Bucknuts 24/7 Sports. So, Coach, your team has allowed 6 sacks the entire season, and in the first 2.5 quarters, Indiana had 5 of them. Just what were they? And I know they're a great defense, obviously, looking at their numbers, but what were they doing in particular that just made this a miserable night for the offensive line?
Yeah, they obviously brought different pressures and twists, and but that was something that they had done all season. They're very good at it. We didn't handle it very well at all. So, there were times we did, but we weren't consistent enough. And this is a major lesson for this team is that it can come down to one play or two plays or three plays that decide a game like this. And so, this is a tough lesson to learn. But we have to be more efficient across the board. It can't just be us doing our job once or twice, or three times. I mean, it's going to be every single time, and that didn't happen. And that starts with the coaching, and then goes from there.
Let's go here in the right. Name and affiliation.
Yeah, Jake Trotter from ESPN. Ryan, could you go through the thinking, the decision making, and then the execution on the two red zones where you had 3rd and 1 and didn't come up with any points?
Yeah, on the first one, we tried to sprint out to Jeremiah. It didn't work, and then we tried to sneak there that looked like we had. I guess they said that his knee was down, it was short, so that was that one. And then on the next one, we tried to roll out on the 3rd and 1, it was batted down, and then felt like at that point, let's just get the 3 points and get the defense back on the field and see if we can play for another possession, get a stop and get the ball back, kick a field goal to win the game. But we didn't execute that. So, at the end of the day, we went down there 2 times and ended up with 0 points, and that's how you lose a game.
We'll go here on the left, and then we'll come up to the front.
With Joey Coffin, Columbus Dispatch, on the went for it on 4th and the kick, how much the fact that you guys have struggled in some of the sneaks last week in the rivalry game in Michigan, the sneak was short, and this sneak was short as well. How did that maybe influence the thinking there?
Well, for the most part, our sneaks have been pretty good this year. How many have we not got this year?
Just 2.
Yeah. It's been pretty good for us, and we felt like we've been pretty good at it, but we didn't execute it, in this one. So, we'll have to, figure out if that's the right thing to do moving forward, and try to put our guys in the best position to be successful.
Here.
All right, your thoughts on their comments and their demeanor, guys, following the tough loss. Jay Rich, let's start with you, man.
Listen, I've been saying it all night, and Obi's been saying it. They just didn't look like themselves. It's like, what happened to the crazy Ryan Day, like the aggressive downhill, the guy you saw in the playoffs from last season that was going for it, had his boot on people's throats, and was putting belt to you-know-what the entire playoffs. Kind of thought I'd see that guy, and instead we got the guy from the Michigan game last season that was a little bit too patient, a little bit too conservative, a little bit too indecisive in critical moments, and just not having the utmost belief in his offensive line and his running game when they should have. Too many 3rd and 1s where a Buckeye offensive line and a Buckeye running back can't just go get a first down. And if you can't do just basic stuff like go bully your way to a first down when you need 1 yard as an Ohio State offense, you're going to struggle in these big games. And Ben, that's what you saw. Obi, I know you said the same thing. It was uncharacteristic, fellas, of what we're used to seeing out of a Ryan Day coach football team, especially him. I know for a fact, because I've seen enough of Ryan Day, that I know for a fact we will not see this same Buckeye team, that same slow tempo and that same lack of urgency and confidence in the playoffs. Mark my words, that will not be seen in the playoffs.
Obi, you agree?
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Day, as always, he's a class act, right? And he's going to take the brunt of that. Sure. Yeah, from I saw where Julian, he was like, hey, Julian had a good game. He believes that he had a good game. A good coach is always going to say, hey, we didn't put them in the best position, possibly. You talk about that 3rd down. It was the first 3rd down conversion came at 6 minutes and 38 seconds in the 3rd quarter.
Wow.
That's unprecedented for Ohio State offense with that much firepower. So I mean, he was contrite. I mean, he was almost apologetic. He has a lot of soul searching to do. I'm going to be very interested in how he moves forward. This could be a long playoff piece. Yeah. And when you're talking about moving pieces, chess pieces that are moving not only in the playoffs, right, but within your building, I think he needs to really kind of circle the wagons. Maybe this last season, the seniors circled the wagons and had that conversation with him. I think Ryan Day needs to circle the wagon and have that conversation with them to say, hey, listen, we need to set a new goal, right? In a sense, we still can win the national championship, but there's a couple things, man, that I think he just needs to reset that order inside the house. So,
how do you respond to adversity, right? That's the question, and we're going to see it moving forward here. Now, we talked in the pregame, right, that this game essentially would decide the Heisman. Guys, do we think that this trophy was secured by Fernando Mendoza tonight, Jay?
Then without a doubt, Fernando Mendoza will be your Heisman Trophy winner. He proved himself to be the most important player to his football team in all of college football. And to me, that's what the Heisman really means. You know, who can you really do without in your program? Fernando Mendoza has changed this program this season in only 1 year. This kid from Cal, he comes in, even brings his little brother. And he just handles every single situation. I don't know how many guys, fellas, that can take that hit he took on the opening play of the game, get all the wind he thought he had in his lungs knocked out of him, and he is laying there writhing in pain. And when Obi, you know, we've been hit like that where you can't even think straight because you can't even breathe.
Right.
And it gets up, recalibrates, and goes, you know what? There's a game to go win. And goes out there and puts it on the line, runs when he needs to run, makes some critical bomb throws down the game, has multiple Heisman moments in this game.
He did.
It's his trophy.
Jay, that was the Heisman moment.
Yes.
That was like the movie Hollywood. I was like, oh my goodness.
No, you're
gracious.
right.
This dude laid out, and I thought he was out. I was texting people, Mendoza, he's out for the game.
Yep.
But he did you hear how that crowd reacted when he ran back onto the field?
Yes.
I was like, oh shoot. They believe that they're going to win this game with him. As long as he's there, they felt like they could win, and they were right.
Yeah.
They took the fight to us. There was nothing that we could do. He really had his way in this game.
He's an exceptional player. There's no
Give
doubt
him the
about it.
Heisman.
Give him the. I guess so.
You can have it. You can have it.
Guys, a lot of football to be played still. Final thoughts as we look ahead to the playoffs here, Jay.
Final thoughts, man. This was the exact game the Ohio State Buckeyes needed. Wake you up, remind you that football is about to get super, super competitive. You know what's ahead of you in these playoffs, and there's a couple teams I actually hope Ohio State finds a way to cross paths with. One is Georgia. I think Brian Redday still has a little bit of get back he needs because we all remember in 2022 what happened in that Georgia game. And number two is now Signetti. Can't wait to see him again. It's going to be a fun playoffs, folks.
That's a rematch that I think we all want to see. Obi, final thought here.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's Buckeye Nation's sad right now, but it actually happened at the perfect time. If it was going to happen, it happened at the perfect time. I think Ryan Day has plenty of time to get this team back on track.
You know, guys, I think the culture is strong, and we're going to have a chance to see them live it out in the playoffs. They've done it before. Let's see if they can do it again.
Absolutely.
So, all right, that'll do it for us here on The Football Fever. Once the playoff brackets are finalized, we'll be back with our usual pregame and postgame shows. Until then, good night, everyone, and go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Show, baby.